There's this heaviness, this density that it feels oppressive right now. I feel like this is a repeat of something that happened maybe a month or two ago. And your spirit is saying it's time to let it go. You're ready now. You're ready now. You are okay. You know that you're okay. Numbers 9 and 11 are coming through. Yes, I realize the irony of that. There's a lot of commotion going on around here. I think there's a raccoon that lives here, that lives over by our deck. And I think the dogs and the cat are kind of frustrated because it was here recently. I didn't see it, but something's different today. Something's different today, and I feel like it's finally time for me to share. I had this plant medicine journey a few years ago, and after the plant medicine journey, I microdosed for a little while after that, maybe a month or so. And so it was around the same time of year as it is now. This might be a little later, but it was around the time of the equinox, I guess, because that's when the days start to get shorter again. Yeah. They're already getting shorter. I'm not really sure. But the light's different. In the morning and in the evening, it's like sepia toned, if that makes sense. In the summer, it's more yellow. And there was this same kind of heaviness. I guess that's why I'm bringing it up. But there was this thought of me being like absolutely and utterly alone. Now, at the time I was, everybody was gone for the day. I was at home by myself. My husband was at work, kids at school. Um, and I just felt this overwhelming, like, am I real? Is this real? Am I alone? I am alone. Am I going through a period of, like, is this what Alzheimer or dementia feels like? Like this big, vast openness? Um, and to be quite honest, it was terrifying. I would have panic attacks for a while after that. Every time the light in the sky was the same color and I saw it. Usually only when outside, because that's when that had happened to me. But there was this like overwhelming sense of grief and loneliness. And it was about a year, I guess, before I finally was like, okay, I'm over this. Like, I'd never been scared of death before, but this was a different kind of death, if that makes sense. And even now, you know, when the light is like that in the sky, it reminds me of that time. I'm not scared anymore. I don't have the panic attacks anymore, but sometimes I feel that heaviness, and I feel that heaviness today. I felt it yesterday. I felt it over the last couple of days. Yesterday and this morning have been the heaviest. And I equate that time now with part of the old me falling away, the part of the old me dying. And it was pretty close to what you feel if somebody close to you died. There was a great sense of loss and grief, and it reminded me of when my dad passed away. I went through this really hard time for the first couple of months after he passed away, because I was trying to hold it back and not let it change me. And it can't not change you when somebody close to you dies. It can't not. And anyway, there's a lot of shedding of old layers. You know, just recently I found out that I have autism. And I also have complex PTSD, CPTSD, and those things make my life different from a lot of other people's. And I do feel alone a lot because of that. The CPTSD, first and foremost, because that's been decades of my life, whereas the autism I just found out about. You know, and again, with all of those things, when you really start to look into yourself and really try to figure out who you are, why you are, who you want to be, there's a lot of you that you're going to grieve, and that's normal. It's okay. I learned from an early age that showing emotions, particularly sadness, was a form of weakness, and it's not. It's a form of processing. It's a form of letting go. It's release. It is what your body has been designed to do. You're not meant to carry the tension and the frustrations, and you're not meant to carry the sadness, other people's ideals, and all of that stuff. And, you know, I really see that in a lot of people And I'm drawn to those people because I understand them. I may not understand everything that they've gone through or that they're going through, but I understand the feelings of loneliness, the feelings of uh, unsure, confusion about who you really are. And it really makes my heart go out to people. I tell people that I don't like people. And it's not that I don't like people. It's that I don't like that they always want to cover it up. They always feel like they have to perform. They always feel like you have to fake it till you make it, right? And, sometimes that faking it till you make it makes you not make it, because you never figure out what it really is that you want, need, desire, are here for. And it's hard being around people because, I saw something that I'm not going to get into the whole Charlie Kirk thing, but I saw one of his quotes saying that he didn't believe in empathy, that it was a new age thing that wasn't real. And that really struck a negative chord with me, because my entire life I've been able to know to call my mom because she was going through a hard time. Something difficult had just happened to her. I knew to contact my kid. I mean, there was a time that I heard my daughter's voice very loudly in my head. She was in the room with me, but she didn't speak out loud. And I heard what she said in her mind, and I answered her, and she was like, what the heck? So, you can't tell me that stuff like that's not real, and if you believe that it's not real, it's because you haven't allowed yourself to experience it. And so if we could get back to a place where we can experience those things, we'd have such a richness of life. Oh my gosh. The people that are out there accepting people where they're at and who they are, regardless of their political affiliation, regardless of their sexuality or gender identity. There's such a richness that we miss out on when we choose to bypass that or deny that, and I think that's part of the reason why I've had such a hard time the past couple of days, because of all the stuff that's been going on. I really don't watch the news or anything, but you still hear about it on social media. You still hear about it through people that do follow that stuff. And I have a lot of people in my life that are Christian. It's the main thing that I tend to talk about because I have a big history with Christianity, and that's what I know. And a lot of those people say that they're open and they're open-minded and they're willing to hear other people's perspectives and stuff, but then I find out that they don't accept people with divergent gender identities, and I really do not care if you are born a certain way and understand about yourself that your gender identity that you were born with and grew up with is different than who you feel like you are. That's not my place to say. It's not my place. And if I go living my life saying that those people don't exist or that they're a threat somehow to my existence, they're not asking me to change who I am. They're just asking me to accept who they are. And I think one of the big problems that I have with a lot of today's Christians, self-proclaimed Christians, is that they say that they, love like Jesus and all of this stuff, and they really don't. They judge. And they miss out on wonderful souls that they could get to know that are really, truly free. And I think that's scary to Christians, deep down. It's scary to know that not everybody is like you because you want to conform. you inherently want to be a part of community. And somehow we think that because this person has proved themselves to be different, that now they can't be part of the community. And I really believe that, for the people that believe in the Bible, and we're talking about the Christian Bible. I can't talk about the other ones because I don't have familiarity with them. But, in Genesis, they talk about how God scattered people across the earth and confused their languages. And I think that was to give them more understanding of the immensity of what God is. And when we deny that someone can be different and also be similar to us, we deny parts of ourselves. And it's so disheartening to me that there's so many people that are so like, this is the way that it is, and I can't accept anything else. If you believe in God, then you should believe in the impossible. And why is it that you can say that God created you exactly as he envisioned, but that he didn't create this trans person exactly as he envisioned? He knows everything. God supposedly knows everything. So you're telling me that there's no room in God's heart for somebody that's gay, for somebody that's trans, for somebody that didn't choose Christianity, that he confused your speech. You said it yourself in the beginning. He confused you. And now he's asking you to come back to understanding. And the understanding comes with shedding. The understanding comes with letting that stuff go. And, a lot of that stuff, like, in my opinion, the Old Testament is your history book. It tells you all the things that people did and did wrong, and somehow they still, like, went to this place that we can't prove exists, so we don't actually know if they made it there or not. And then in the New Testament, it talks about how all you need to do is believe, and you're in. And I think maybe part of that was because, well, let me not get into that. I don't know. I'll leave that. I can't change anybody's mind. That's hard and fast. I just know that I grew up Catholic, grew up in the Catholic Church, left the church when my parents got divorced, so I was about 13. And then came back into Christianity as an adult when I was 20-ish. Started kind of going to church, reading the Bible. My first supervisor got me a little In the Words of Jesus book, and I read that stuff, and it was confusing to me because it was people. I saw people not following what it said, and I remember I have autism, so I take things quite literally, and they're saying there's a lot of symbolism and layers in the Bible, and I'm like, okay, well, if there's a lot of symbolism and layers in the Bible, then how come all of these things that you are proclaiming against couldn't also be true? But anyways, then I left the church again for a little while, and then at the age of 30, I decided to be saved again, and went back to church, and again, the same thing. It tossed me, it just didn't sit right with me. You see all these people in worship, and they're so into it, and blah, 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 and this and that, and their sin is not as egregious as your sin, so they're better than you. And, I had questions, and my questions were unwelcomed. And I'm like, but I'm trying to learn. Like, I'm 30 years old. I didn't grow up with this like you did, and I was ostracized for questions. And, then I found out that leaders in the church, there was a leader in the church that was having an inappropriate relationship with a minor, which was another leader in the church in the youth ministry. And I told the pastor about it, and the pastor didn't do anything, nothing. And so that was very eye-opening for me. You know, another one of the churches that I had went to around that time, they were preaching the prosperity gospel, and they're riding around in really expensive vehicles, and they're asking for monthly pledges of hundreds of dollars a month from members of the church, and thousands of dollars a month from the leaders in the church. And it wasn't to raise funds for, you know, a new building or whatever. We were funding their lifestyle. It wasn't about 10%. They were asking for definitely more than that. And, you know, I had pledged because I thought it was like a one-time pledge. And I had pledged like $800. And they were upset that I didn't give that every month and that I reneged on my pledge. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. This didn't say anything about it wasn't a contract for a year or anything. Like, what? And they asked for donations of $500 or more for the first lady's birthday. And I'm like, from every person in the church? Like, what are you guys doing? You know? And so I'm not saying that all churches are bad. I'm talking about my experience. And I know that not all people in all churches are bad. This is like the whole men versus the bear argument, right? Like, not all men are bad. But I've experienced enough of them to want to pivot and seek a different way of life. And then that's when I decided I don't need to follow anybody's programs or beliefs. I can make my own. And that's when I really started to see and get in tune with my own intuition, and these layers started falling away that were not meant to be there. And day to day, my life is pretty happy and peaceful, and I really like it. And then I, you know, go back out into the world, and I'm again I have been attracted to those people that are hurt and covering it up. And they're drawn to my energy because there is something about them that wants something different. And most of the time, they end up not being willing to face themselves. They're too scared to face themselves. And that's that mirror that I was talking about, that, you know, sometimes in the mirror, I see myself, and sometimes in the mirror, I see them for who they really are. And people don't like that about me. That's hard for them to hear. And it has made a lot of loneliness in my life for me. And, you know, I'm okay with that because I'm surrounded with all these wonderful animals that don't judge me. They accept me when I have a bad day. They accept me when I have a good day. They're drawn to me when I have a sad day. That's why the cat's over here making a whole bunch of noise playing with acorns on the metal, and Freya's over there looking for the raccoon that is long gone. But she's staying close by, and she doesn't have to. You know, she could be anywhere else because the raccoon is gone. And she knows it's gone. But that sadness still shows up. That loneliness still shows up. And it reminds me that I'm not the only one. I just watched a video by Phil Good on YouTube yesterday. It's called I'm Not Too Much. I've decided I'm not too much. And it was him and his partner talking about how relationships have changed since they've realized that and accepted that about themselves. And I resonated with so much of that video. It was an hour, and I resonated with so much of that video. I'm like, I want to be friends with them because they get what I feel. They understand that things are different for me, and I want to be different. That's the thing that I just said out loud for the first time right now, but it's true. I want to be different. I don't want to be like all those people that are faking their relationships, that are faking their feelings, that are faking their conversations. I don't want that. I refuse to accept that. And that means a lot of people, even more people that are in my life right now, are going to fall away. And that's sad. I'm going to grieve that, but I'm not going to stay there. I'll take my time with it, you know, and I keep coming back to yesterday was another hard day for me, and losing that friend that I just lost a few months ago. Unfriending, she's not dead. Let's say that. But it was still hard for me because it's like I really wanted that relationship to work out. And I knew from the beginning that it wasn't going to. But I also knew that it was something that I needed to play out because it taught me a lot about myself, and it really did. But I'm going to grieve it, you know, and I was thinking about it yesterday. I'm like, why am I not over this yet? And I'm like, basically, this person died to me. Like, all the time that I spent with them, they died to me. Like, I wish that they were still in my life because they did have a lot of good qualities. But the ones that were really important to me, you know, being able to hold me in a safe space when I have experienced hurt, that was not there. That part wasn't there. And I really need that. I can't just be there for you when you're hurt. I need you to also be there for me when I'm hurt, when I have something that I have set a boundary on. And I was willing to do that for them. They weren't willing to do that for me. And I'm going to take as long as I need to with that and stop trying to push it back and push it down, because this person was a very significant part of my life for a very short period of time. You know, when you look at it, the fact that I'm 45. But they were very important to me. They were very important to my growth as a person. They were very important to my growth as a horse person. They were very important to getting my health back on track. They were very important to me. And I wanted to help them too. And hopefully hopefully they've had time to reflect and they understand that I wasn't trying to use them or any of that stuff, because I absolutely was not. That's not what my relationship with them was about. But if I didn't, I'm gonna have to be okay with that, because I can't change what happened. So anyways, there's been a lot on my mind lately, and I'm glad that you're still here watching the video with me, because I know that you're here because you feel a lot of the same things. And whether you want to admit to yourself that you're ready for change or not, you know, change is not something that happens all at once. It's just not. And when you expect it to, when you expect to be able to turn on and off switches in your life, that's where the most conflict comes in, because you're a human being, a thinking, feeling human being. And it's important for you to explore those things in small chunks instead of the whole thing altogether. And if you have questions, it's important to explore those questions, because that's what makes you more expansive. And again, I've said this many times before, but if there's a lot of non-player characters in this thing called life right now, in this timeline of the earth, and those people are going to come into the earth, become who they are, and die who they are. Those guys, that just is what it is. But then there's some of us that are questioning, and some of us that want more and don't understand how to get more. And that's who I'm really doing these videos for, because I'm one of those people. And, you know, we're all meant to help carry each other home. And the only way to do that is to continue to be expansive. No, I may not understand what someone's thought process is and why they make the decisions that they make, but I'm willing to have a conversation with them about it, as long as they're willing to be open-minded about my perspective as well. I can't just listen to what you have to say and just absorb it. Like, that's not who I am anymore. And I want people that can hold that container with me. Let's make it a safe place to disagree and to learn and grow. Let's do that for each other. And I'll say it again. I've said it before. I'll say it again. If you're one of those people that is looking for that, reach out, because the only way that we're going to get through this is together. And yeah, there's going to be times where you feel alone feel lonely, but you are never truly alone. It's really about taking that step in that initiative. And this is my step in initiative here, for those that watch the video. And of course, I'll continue to make those strides in my real life as well. But it's a little harder because then there's the game. Right now, I don't have to play the game. But yeah, I love you, my dearest confidant. Until next time.